Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric, your writer, and I'm here dressed as the Russell Crowe character of Jake Davis because this week we're going to be doing a review of the 2015 emotional drama movie titled Fathers and Daughters. Now, Fathers and Daughters runs for 1 hour and 56 minutes long. It is directed by Gabriele Muccino. The script was written by Brad Desch. The producers are Nicholas Chartier, Cheryl Clark, and Craig J. Flores. It is composed by Paulo Buonavino. Buonvino, I think that's how his name is pronounced. The cinematography by Shane Hurlbut, and it was edited by Alex Rodriguez. No, I am not talking about the baseball legend slash destroyer of his own personal career due to juicing it up, A-Rod. No, just Alex Rodriguez of a different sort. He just has the same name, just by coincidence. And the stars of this movie are Russell Crowe, who plays an author, Jake Davis. I got here a nice old book. Actually, it's really just some kind of mobile toy that you use during the Christmas holidays. Anyways, the co-stars of this movie, of course, are Amanda Seyfried, Kylie Rogers, Aaron Paul, Diane Kruger, Quvenzhane Wallis, Janet McTeer, Octavia Spencer, Jane Fonda, Bruce Greenwood, Michelle Veintimilla, Ryan Eggold, and Paula Marshall. And I got quite a few things I'd like to talk about here. So, Russell Crowe stars in this sentimental drama, Fathers and Daughters, playing Pulitzer Prize winning author Jake Davis, named Jake Davis, who lives with his young daughter Katie, played by Kylie Rogers. Now, unfortunately, things take a tragic turn when the family gets into a serious car crash in which his wife, her mother, sadly passes away. Meanwhile, Jake had become oppressed with depression and mental instability while often suffering from terrible seizures, which eventually leads him to become a patient under psychiatric care. Apparently, because of his physical well being and his mental instability, little Katie now is under the custody of her Uncle William, played by Bruce Greenwood, and her Aunt Elizabeth, played by Diane Kruger. So when Jake becomes discharged from the hospital, things are never the same as before. Cut to many decades later, we have an adult Katie, played by Amanda Seyfried, who now works as a social worker, and she is assigned to help traumatized kids who have been affected by events that took a toll on their mental health as well, including a stoic, unresponsive girl named Lucy, played by Quvenzhane Wallis, who, of course, was one of the youngest actresses to ever be nominated for an Oscar actress for her performance in Beasts of the Southern Wild. If you ever seen that movie, great fantasy story. So, while she's saving these kids, she herself needs some saving of her own. And this is where things just doesn't seem to really fully measure up. Then she meets a young man named Cameron, played by Aaron Paul, and here's where things go sour to absolute repugnant. I came to see fathers and daughters with very little expectations, other than the star quality in the performers here. And as a result, such a richly done melodrama, which is what it was, I got very little out of making this movie very, very unsatisfying to watch. It felt like writer Brad Desch seems to have read, a few textbooks on the topic related to psychology, and all of a sudden now he's just this expert when it comes to the subjects. So he decides to arbitrarily write a script related to grief and trauma by the book without really going as too far as to counsel those who had real experiences related to grief and depression. It's all just textbook stuff here, folks. There's nothing else other than that. This is just like, trying to bake a cake and the only contribution you have is to spread the frosting around. That's all you do. You're not cracking the eggs. You're not dropping the dough, the powder, the salt, the sugar, and mixing it all up and putting it in. No. You're just doing the icing part. And that's all he's doing. So, okay, maybe he's done a little bit of homework here and there. He's read the textbooks. But this is about as far as we could go to actual direct accuracy without really actually stepping up and actually doing any type of counseling of his own. All he is just a writer, a hack, and nothing more. So while Kate's depression issues regarding loss and grief of both parents at a young age is definitely right on the money, I'm going to give him credit for that. It all feels more like a hack effort created by a pseudo expert on this subject making Brad Desch, the scriptwriter, a phony. I'm not putting anything down about the director or maybe even the cast, but it is the script that is the real red herring. It's understanding that Kate's heartbreak regarding her father has been a burden within her, even more so as an adult, but has never overcame it. I mean, she had to experience this lifetime tragedy, losing her mother at a young age, watching her father as he progressively deteriorates in terms of both physical and mental health, making him unfit and unstable to continue raising her. And it's painful to watch as Jake Davis is struggling through life, writing his next best novel, while also battling to keep afloat as he's suffering both physically and mentally, and the seizures are just so freaking painful to watch. It might have blown over the water to some extent, but I'm okay with that. Some people show their depressions in different ways, whether being noble or extravagant. The whole notion of her having sex with random men as a way to cope with her depression is problematic. With me, that is. Alright, listen. I got no disrespect for social workers. I understand that they too have families and they too also have a right to have issues related to depression and heartbreak. But the thing is that a lot of social workers, one of the things about Social Work 101 is you need to also find ways of self controlling your own issues before you could step up and try to save others. Do unto yourself before you do unto others. That's the point I'm getting at. If she can't save herself, then she's got no right and no authority to save other people's lives. Am I being selfish about this whole situation? Not really. Not really at all. I can take that she's depressed and that she has issues of her own and that she had to experience a lot of childhood heartbreak that she never fully recovered from. And it's a sad shame that it boiled down to this. However, when the beloved savior in life, Cameron, decides to step in, break her cycle, and become the void she is missing, he eventually tries to become the new Jake father figure. It's just downright unsettling. For one, he's just a random person out of nowhere. How do you even know he's even a redeemable individual? She just found him from out of nowhere. And he could say what he wants about how much he loved her father's books. And he could probably just go through, textbook, word for word stuff. Big fucking deal. Does that actually make him a good person? No. Does that make him a bad person? No. He's just a random individual. And she is just so fucking clueless. She's so fucking clueless as to who this person is. He's just a random person. She's had multiple sex partners with many different men as a way to look and search for her new father figure, her new Jake. The new Jake figure that has been missing from her since childhood. And that's creepy, actually. It also goes in her favor that Katie is quite the looker, because if she was homely, Cameron would have never given her the time of day to save her. And believe it or not, Amanda Seyfried is a very attractive lady. Because if she was like frumpy and ugly and not very attractive, he would have just walked by her and she would have still been a fucking train wreck. It's also unjustified and quite unqualified that Katie, in spite of being besides being educated in the field of social work and therapy, that she's trying to interact with a trauma-stricken Lucy, and yet she can't even save herself. If you can't save yourself, you can't save others. It doesn't work that way sometimes. Sure, I know it's do unto others as others would do unto you. But in this case, in the field of social work, it's save yourself before you could save others. It's like preaching to the gods without knowing what the fuck you're talking about. That's what it is. It might sound like a nice gesture to help her out, but she chose this girl because Lucy she fits perfectly from the horrific events she's experienced. And to me, that approach is wrong. It's not about challenging herself to different children going through the motions, but about Lucy and how she's the mirror image of the trauma Katie faced in the past. In other words, there are kids who are facing many, many different challenges in this world, but she chose Lucy as a subject because Lucy is going through the same bullshit that she went through and she could relate. Maybe another kid is going through some other deep-rooted issues, like a broken home, an abused parents, abusive parents, poverty, um, bullied in school, and nobody's doing shit all to save this poor unfortunate soul. But no, she chose Lucy because Lucy is going through the same motions that she has and just doesn't want her to follow the same path. Even though it's hard to assume if Lucy is actually going to end up, being like her, having multiple sex partners just to look for that new void to fill in from the old one. It's just not right. It does not work that way. I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound insensitive. Sure, as a social worker, Katie, like most other people of her caliber, might pick their career choice because, like her, other people in that field might have suffered from various tragic events and will see their own personal experience in helping other kids who are feeling the same way and hope they might overcome what's bothering them. I know she seems selfless in helping others before helping herself, which is admirable, yes. However, Katie must fight her own inner demons before passing her knowledge to others. In other words, she's just as clueless as these kids who are suffering. She's practically just the same kids, albeit trapped in an adult body with an education to boot. That's all she is. She clearly isn't eligible to help others, and yet people want to turn a blind eye on that. Perhaps a more level-headed social worker would be more sufficient in helping our kids. But Katie is just not reliable just yet, or at least until her self-conflicted ways are expunged. I'm sure therapists who watch this film will know just how unprofessional and unqualified Katie is at helping kids. The movie to me is a very unsatisfying watch. Although the actors they pour their hearts out to what was given to them, hats off to them, my respects to the performers. But and I will say that the cast did a great job of capturing the image of people dealing with grief and death. But it was still overly dramatic and still cringe inducing. And I don't know what else to say. Do I recommend this movie? Performance wise, sure. The direction, okay. But however, if you're not into overly dramatic tear jerkers, maybe this is not the movie for you. So with all that said and done, if I was to give this movie a score out of 10, I would give Fathers and Daughters from 2015 a 4 out of 10. So I guess this ends my ride review. Thank you all for listening in. If you wish to subscribe to my YouTube channel, please feel free to do so. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. But just remember the 3 simple rules. Be kind, be courteous, and please refrain from any rude comments. And I'll be back again with another movie review. So until next time, this is Eric Correct Rider saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. And hopefully you might win a Pulitzer Prize. Anyways, take care of yourselves. I'll see you around. Goodbye.